This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A Manitoba family says their aunt's friend stole hundreds of thousands of dollars after she died. And even after getting a court judgment in their favor, she has yet to pay it back. The I-Team's Caroline Bargout has the story.
Donna died in May. These charges all were on Donna's credit card.
Glenda Manning and Kirk McCardle have spent the last decade trying to figure out where all of their aunt's money went. Donna Manning died in 2015. She was 82. Her friend Kathleen Penner was the only one by her side when she died. Penner called the family to break the news and tell them she'd been made the executor of Donna's estate. What she didn't mention was that Donna had been on her deathbed for 3 days and they could have had time to say goodbye.
She was in the hospital for 3 days and nobody knew about it.
That wasn't the only thing that didn't make sense. Donna was a retired bookkeeper who didn't spend a lot of money. Penner told the family Donna had no assets other than her condo, no savings, and less than $1,000 in her bank.
That raised a lot of red flags and got the family digging into Donna's finances. But first, they needed access to her bank accounts, so they took Penner to court. Here's some of what they learned.
2 years before Donna died, she had given Penner a credit card in her name that was linked to Donna's accounts. Instead of using it to help care for Donna, Penner used the card for cash advances, to pay for vacations, and to dine out at restaurants. When Donna died, Penner continued to use the credit card, all while billing it to Donna's estate.
She even had the gall to raise the limit 6 months after my aunt had passed on the Visa card.
The family won a 2023 Manitoba Court of King's Bench judgment against Penner, but say they're still trying to have it enforced. According to court records, in August 2013, Donna gave Penner access to her Noventis bank account and made her power of attorney of that account. That same month, tens of thousands of dollars were transferred to Noventis from Donna's CIBC account, along with Donna's registered retirement income fund. The next month, more money was transferred to the Noventis account. Together, the transfers totaled $186,000 that Penner now had access to. And that's not all. That year, Donna's spending went from $24,000 a year to $96,000.
She became executor because she knew that as executor, we wouldn't have access to the bank accounts. And it took us 6 years to get that access to find the proof.
Proof, the family says in court documents, that Penner had taken tens of thousands of dollars from their aunt.
She hasn't had to answer to anything. And it's been like we're going in our 10th year. This is like, when does she have to step up and be accountable?
Less than 2 years before Donna died, she purchased 2 investments totaling $70,000. A financial advisor named Penny McAdam sold them to her. She also happened to be Penner's neighbor. The 2 women were listed as beneficiaries of the investments, so when Donna died, Penner received $50,000, while McAdam got $20,000. The 2 women also ticked off a box claiming Donna didn't have a will, even though she did. McAdam declined to comment on the investment, stating she cannot discuss any client information due to privacy reasons. This certified financial advisor questions the ethics of selling an investment to someone and also benefiting from it.
This one's particularly egregious because the investment advisor was also a beneficiary and also had a friend who was a beneficiary who was the executrix. So I think even in these courses that we have to take, I haven't seen anything quite like this.
We contacted Kathleen Penner. She said she was looking into hiring a lawyer and didn't answer any of our questions.
What was going on when the check was written?
This estate lawyer says an executor is supposed to act in the deceased person's interest.
The responsibility of an executor is to wind up the estate when a person has passed away. So to make sure that all of the debts get paid, to make sure that all the taxes get paid, and to make sure that anybody either named in the will or assigned by legislation, depending on the nature of the estate, gets the funds that are left over at the end.
The family sued Penner, who did not show up to court to defend herself. They were eventually awarded a default judgment of $240,000, which they now need to find in order to collect.
We need to bring her to justice.
Glenda Manning and Kirk McCardle have been trying to find out where Penner banks so they can try and recoup some of their aunt's money. Penner works part-time at a funeral home. They garnished her wages and receive about $800 a month. Winnipeg police investigated and sent the case for Crown opinion, but the Crown did not authorize charges. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Donald Trump's return to the White House is being seen as an opportunity to recruit doctors from the U.S. Doctors Manitoba has launched an ad campaign inviting American physicians to practice in a place without political interference. Karen Pauls explains.
A healthy Manitoba needs healthy doctors behind it.
Doctors Manitoba is always recruiting, but now they've kicked things up a notch, targeting North Dakota, Florida, and other states where bans or proposed bans on abortion and gender-affirming care limit how some doctors can treat their patients.
When we saw the clouds forming, I suppose, as the U.S. election approached, we knew that there may be some physicians that might be looking for a different environment in which to work.
Are you going to recommend an end to polio vaccines?
That environment includes vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr., President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for U.S. Health Secretary.
In the States, it's much more fraught.
Dr. Allison Carlton and her wife moved to Manitoba from Iowa after Trump won in 2016, partly because of the cost of operating a solo family practice and partly because of the political environment.
We did a lot of transgender care. I wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
According to Doctors Manitoba, the province has the fewest family physicians per capita in Canada. Meanwhile, a new report shows the rate of new family doctors across Canada has slowed, and they're seeing fewer patients because of aging population and increasingly complex patients, team-based care that includes other health professionals, the ability of nurse practitioners and pharmacists to prescribe and treat minor ailments, the administrative burden, and need for a better work-life balance.
So a number of those changes are very recent. And so looking at the data in the years to come, we'll really start to identify how that impacts access to care for Canadians, the health outcomes from that care, and the overall health of the health workforce.
And how it impacts on physician recruitment.
Come to Manitoba. It's beautiful, it's friendly, and you can practice medicine in the way that you were educated and in the way that you believe is true and just between you and your patient.
And our journey.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Police say a teenage girl has been taken into custody in connection to an online threat that closed Elmwood High School this morning. Police say this threat was circulated on social media and included a message threatening to do harm at the school Tuesday. Officers say it is unrelated to two email threats that had Elmwood and Oak Park High closed the day before. Investigators say the emails were a malicious hoax. They say were sent to incite public panic. Both schools were supposed to open this morning with an increased police presence. Winnipeg School Division Superintendent says the impacts of these types of incidents are substantial.
Many people in our community are upset about this, families, parents, because enough's enough. And our, the schools, in particular Elmwood, are so important to community. And we have people engaging in this type of activity that is harmful, it's destructive, and it needs to stop.
No charges have been laid at this time, and police do not believe there was any threat to safety for the school. Both schools are open for classes, or were open for classes this afternoon. Well, if you park on the street, you'll want to take note. A residential parking ban will begin starting tomorrow night at 7 until Saturday morning. The city will plow all residential streets. Cars must be parked elsewhere while the zone is being cleared to avoid a ticket and tow. The city will temporarily suspend the winter route parking ban while that residential ban is in effect. That goes until 7 a.m. Saturday. You can download the Know Your Zone app or use the city's interactive online map to find out when your street will be cleared. Weather specialist Riley Lachuk in now. And Riley, a lot of people have been waiting for that residential clearing because it is messy out there.
Yeah, that heavy, that wet snow, that moisture-rich snow that we got into the early part of yesterday, really made things a lot slushier and ickier out there, especially on some of those residential streets. And those sidewalks, take it easy out there. Temperatures today, we did get up to -9 as expected this afternoon in Winnipeg, -6 in Winkler, pretty seasonal for this time of the year actually for daytime highs, -8s in Brandon and Dauphin, and some cooler air to the north. This is what will start to sink south as we start to see a ridge building in the jet stream. You can see that clearing already back into Saskatchewan, starting to make its way south and east, so still under a little bit of cloud cover here in Winnipeg, although I did see a few peaks of sunshine earlier in the afternoon. -22 overnight tonight. Our temperature falls a bit into the morning hours, so -23 by the first part of the morning tomorrow. Northwest winds at 10, and we're looking at a -19 tomorrow afternoon. Brittany, a bit cooler into the day on Wednesday, and there's some snow in the forecast for some of us, so I'll break it down coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
Welcome.
We have much more local news straight ahead. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. We'll be right back. An outreach organization known for serving people east of the Red River is expanding into downtown Winnipeg. St. Boniface StreetLinks has partnered with a private property owner to house people experiencing addictions and homelessness. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel got a tour of the apartment building.
This couple finally has a home indoors after months outside in a tent.
It feels amazing, like being sober. It feels like more doors are being opened for us and like more better opportunities.
We get a second chance at life.
Devaney Hudson and Dwayne Sumner are the new caretakers of the apartment block on Fountain Street. They're also clients of St. Boniface Street Links. The organization is working with the building's owner to house people here and provide around-the-clock supports.
I really do believe that is the way forward to address the addictions crisis. It really is. And in my view, community-based recovery is the right model.
The complex offers drug-free transitional housing for people leaving the organization's temporary bed space. It'll have a drug stabilization center and suites on the main floor, with 29 rooms on the second floor that share bathrooms and kitchens.
It's a way to add to the housing stock. We've lost so much of our, what we call the low barrier housing stock. There's very little, and that's why people are out there in encampments.
Property owner Sam Turon says he had his doubts about the project, but with the camera system and community style of living, along with security and StreetLink staff on hand, he's changed his mind.
Well, a lot of property owners are scared or they don't want to deal with it. Well, not dealing with it and not giving somebody an opportunity, how are we going to advance? Like, how's it going to improve? You can't improve it without there being risk. And in this case, I'm taking risk.
But so far, so good, he says. He hopes having StreetLinks on site means less strain on emergency services. Meanwhile, Hudson and Sumner hope it means they can reunite with family.
So it's closer, and it feels like we're doing really good, David.
Nearly 60 days sober and counting. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Winnipeg Jets and their new acquisition have just made history with his signing. Kevin He inked a 3-year entry-level deal with the Jets worth just under $1 million. With the signing, the 18-year-old became the first Chinese-born player to sign an NHL contract. He's currently in his 3rd season with the Niagara Ice Dogs of the Ontario Hockey League. The Beijing product was drafted in the 4th round, 109th overall this summer. He was the 2nd Chinese-born player to be drafted to the NHL. As you heard, the city of Winnipeg will start residential snow plowing tomorrow. It made the decision yesterday based on the conditions. The city says it shows it's being proactive, but people with mobility issues say they're still not doing enough for them. The CBC's Arturo Chang reports.
I'll see if I can get it. No.
For Melissa Graham, every snowy sidewalk is like a trap where she could get stuck. She's not the only one. Davy Patterson says even going a block away is trouble.
Every time I see it snowing, my heart sinks a little bit. When there's fresh snow, I can't go anywhere unless I have handy transit booked. And even then, they sometimes complain if the sidewalk isn't cleared.
The city will clear residential streets starting Wednesday because of all the slush. Its road maintenance manager says they're being proactive and making improvements every winter.
We are a winter city, and we have one of the best policies in North America, probably in Canada. We plow all our streets, we plow all our sidewalks in the city. So I think that from that perspective, our level of service is very high.
But Graham is skeptical. She doesn't like a pilot program coming out next winter. The threshold to clear residential streets will be 5 centimeters higher, from 10 to 15. Graham says that shows the city is moving in the wrong direction.
If they're waiting till 15 centimeters to clear the roads, they're also going to wait till 15 centimeters to clear the sidewalks, even if they're saying this policy is just about roads. That's just the reality. Because frankly, if you're clearing the sidewalks but not the roads, you can't cross the road anyway.
The city says the threshold for sidewalks will stay the same and that the pilot won't change much.
But I believe that once conditions are not good on those streets, we'll go and plow them.
Still, Graham and other accessibility advocates plan to bring back an awareness campaign. They want people to share photos of snow-packed streets to show what it's like to get around. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Riley's back now. And Riley, I know that temperatures are starting to go in the opposite direction
Yes.
that we like them, but it does mean things will thaw up and we'll get rid of some of that really slushy, heavy, wet snow.
It's really hard to navigate.
We need the city to get rid of that before it freezes.
Exactly.
So it's a good thing that plow is coming tomorrow.
Yeah, and we are getting some colder temperatures as we get through the next couple of days, but then we have a warm up after that, and there's some snow, so.
Up and down and up and down, just how we like it.
A little bit of everything really is what we have in store. Let's look at watches and mornings across Western Canada right now. This gives you a sense of what's coming for parts of Manitoba. So we have in white into southern Saskatchewan and into parts of Alberta even right now, snowfall warning right now. This is ahead of an area of low pressure that'll make its way south across southwestern Manitoba and into North Dakota, and behind that some very cold Arctic air into parts of central and northern Saskatchewan. So you can start to see that ridge starting to form in the jet stream right now, allowing some of that cold Arctic air down into the central prairie provinces. This is an impending low here that will start to give us some precipitation here into parts of Manitoba as we get into the later part of Wednesday into Thursday. So overnight tonight, this area of high pressure does start to clear us out a little bit, so we'll start to get into a bit of a sunnier pattern by the time we get into the morning hours tomorrow. A little bit of high-level cloud hanging around as we get through the day on Wednesday. And behind that, though, you can start to see some cloud building in as we get through the overnight, or into the evening hours, into the overnight period Wednesday. This is that area of low pressure bringing some snow in a line really from Roblin, Russell along the Highway 16 corridor. This makes its way to the east as we get into the overnight period Wednesday into Thursday. At this point, this particular forecast model has been pushing this all further south, although Winnipeg and in particular that Trans-Canada corridor to the early part of Thursday getting clipped by the northern edge of this snow. So west of Winnipeg into Thursday morning, this is going to mean another morning where we have some messy travel conditions into the southern part of the province and even along that Highway 75 corridor. It doesn't take a lot of wind when you mix in a little bit of snow to create some blowing snow issues on highways. That quickly departs by the lunch hour. We're back to a mainly cloudy sky in Winnipeg. Behind that, some clearing, high pressure, and some colder temperatures as we head toward the weekend. So in terms of snow to come, really, as I mentioned, that Highway 16 corridor is kind of a good guideline, looking at about 2 to 4 centimeters for places like Dauphin down through Neepawa. Winnipeg, I think we're on the edge of 2 to 4 on the northern side of that edge, but certainly down into southwestern Manitoba, looking into 10 to 15 centimeters of snow once again. First, though, we have to get through some cold temperatures, particularly in the morning tomorrow. Minus 27 in Brandon first thing. Winnipeg, we're looking at minus 23 first thing in the morning tomorrow. Minus 19 for the afternoon. There's that chance of flurries into the early part of Thursday morning, Brittany, and cold temperatures into the weekend.
All right. Thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have to take another quick break. We'll be right back right after this. Stay with us. It was the last sitting of the House of Commons before MPs break for the holidays. But many Liberals may not be in the mood to celebrate as calls grow for Justin Trudeau to step down as their party leader and Prime Minister. We also have new information involving the stunning departure of Chrystia Freeland from Cabinet. The CBC's Ashley Burke has that from Ottawa.
This House stands adjourned.
As Parliament's fall sitting ends, an increasing number of Liberal MPs say it should be the end of Justin Trudeau.
I believe there needs to be a leadership change.
Last night, Trudeau told disaffected MPs he's heard their concerns and would think about his future, but has said that before and stayed on.
The Prime Minister is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
In the last 24 hours, half a dozen additional Liberal MPs have joined public calls for Trudeau to quit, even past offenders.
I've always been loyal to Mr. Trudeau. I think loyalty, though, is not a one-way street. I think he should reflect on his future.
A final straw for some MPs was yesterday's bombshell resignation by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, after she says Trudeau told her she was being moved out of finance. A Liberal source told Radio-Canada that Freeland was told she'd be replaced by former Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mark Carney. But a source told CBC News Carney had not agreed to the move when Trudeau and Freeland spoke.
Whatever happened, the culmination was that she was treated very abysmally.
Liberal MP Anthony Housefather says Freeland's resignation letter was a call to action.
To me, it said, Anthony, you also have an obligation to speak out the way Chrystia did. What I think he should do for the best interest of the party and the best interest of the country is to resign as leader of the Liberal Party so we can select a new leader.
In another blow, the Liberals were defeated last night in a third by-election this year, this time in BC.
The Canadian people have basically been telling us for some time, the street has been talking to us, and they're saying that this leader cannot be supported. And we have to listen to that, and the Prime Minister has to listen to that.
But cabinet ministers and other MPs are standing behind Trudeau.
He has my confidence.
He's a strong leader. He's focused on delivering for Canadians.
I think all of us should be loyal to the Prime Minister.
The opposition seizing on it all.
What a mess. Yesterday was a gong show at the bottom of a dumpster fire, wrapped up in a cluster.
Let's call an election before the end of January.
Trudeau has to go.
The Prime Minister right now is facing a return to Parliament in the new year with no clear idea if any opposition parties or even his own caucus will support him. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, Ottawa has unveiled details of its plans to secure the Canada-U.S. border in response to Donald Trump's tariff threat. Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc says
our new border plan, backed by an investment of $1.3 billion, will secure our border against the flow of illegal drugs and irregular migration, while ensuring the free flow of people and goods that are at the core of North America's prosperity.
Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc says new measures will include information sharing and improving coordination between law enforcement agencies. LeBlanc also hinted at investing in new tools and technology to detect drug trafficking. Postal workers across Canada are back on the job today after their month-long strike. That was the moment the first of the picket lines went down this morning, and Canada Post employees were allowed to pass in to work. But if you're hoping the strike's end means your delayed deliveries will arrive before Christmas, be warned, Canada Post says there's a backlog of several million parcels, and it will take several days at least to get caught up. No new mail or parcels will be accepted into the system until Thursday, and no new international items will be taken in before December 23rd, with delivery delays possible into the new year. Canadian airports are gearing up for the busy holiday travel season that kicks off this week. As Stephanie Skandaris reports, travelers are being urged to prepare in advance to better handle the rush.
Toronto Pearson International Airport is still relatively calm, but officials know the travel storm is coming.
Between December 20th and January 6th, we're expected to see just under 2.7 million people walk through Toronto Pearson. So it will be busy in the airport, but we are ready for it.
Staff want passengers to be ready too. They say one way to do that is to use apps like ArriveCan.
My hope is that here at the airport, a lot of our travelers are going to choose to use the advanced CBSA declaration feature on the ArriveCan app. Really speeds things up and lets them answer all of those mandatory questions up to 72 hours before they even arrive at the airport.
Halifax Stanfield Airport is also preparing for a travel surge and wants passengers to be aware of some holiday-specific pitfalls, like remembering snow globes are subject to the 100-milliliter liquid limit.
If you plan on traveling with gifts this holiday season, please leave those unwrapped until you get through security in case those contents do need to be inspected.
Just one of many tips for a smoother airport experience.
We make sure each person has their own bag so kids feel more responsible.
I only take essentials for carry-on, but definitely a change of undies and clothes just in case.
Same. Spare knickers, spare pants, spare t-shirt.
Yeah.
Go, because they're going to lose my luggage.
I just make sure there's more liquids. I'm scared of the liquids.
That fear may soon be eased a little. New CT X-ray machines are being rolled out across the country, already in one or more lanes in Vancouver, Ottawa, Montreal, Calgary, and now Toronto.
You no longer have to take your liquids, aerosols, and gels, as well as your laptops out of your carry-on. Smoother experience, quicker experience. It's a national deployment program, so it's going to be eventually, it's multi-year across the nation on all lanes, hopefully at all the airports.
So passengers can focus more on what matters.
Don't get lost.
Stephanie Skandaris, CBC News, Toronto.
If it seems like Canadian winters have been warmer than usual in recent years, you're not wrong. A new analysis shows there have been more days above zero temperatures during winter. And as On and Ram reports, climate change is being blamed.
Not ideal weather for an outdoor rink. Joelle Campbell's been helping set this one up every year for a decade, and lately, consistent below zero temperatures are hard to come by.
I would say in my first 5 years here, we had one bad year, whereas in my second 5 years here, we've had one good year.
Across the country, a new analysis from the nonprofit Climate Central says climate change is adding more above zero days to winter. The biggest loser of sub-zero weather is Vancouver at almost 3 weeks. It's about a week warmer in Montreal, and in Toronto, it's almost 2 full weeks above freezing every winter.
You can feel it. You know, you don't need the data really to see that, because I feel it just working at the rink here.
The whole family went skating.
To be clear, the weather may still bring us scenes like this, the winters we used to know. But the more the climate is warmed by humans burning fossil fuels, the more likely those winters become warmer and wetter.
Many regions depend on having a healthy, thick snowpack heading into spring. And when you don't have that, then there's less water for the drier and warmer months of the year.
And beyond food or fun, researchers say ice that's been exposed to above zero temperatures may have hidden weaknesses.
These weaker ice conditions contribute to more drownings through ice. And the highest number of drownings occur at the beginning and the end of the winter season.
It's more management on your part, right?
It is, yeah. Scheduling is a little trickier. We need to be able to, be nimble and flood when the time allows us.
For Campbell, who taught his 3 children to skate on this rink, it's still worth waiting for those freezing days, even if they're fewer and far between.
If we can get it open for even part of the holidays, is just a huge benefit for the whole neighborhood.
There is hope for a wintry future, but experts say the time to act is now, before future generations end up on a path they can't control. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
A new comedy series set in a fictional town in the Canadian Arctic is gaining a lot of hype. North of North was created by Inuit filmmakers with an Inuit lead actor and shot in Nunavut. It's premiering on CBC Gem on January 7th, but people in Iqaluit got a sneak peek, and Juanita Taylor was there.
Whenever you're ready. People packed the theater to watch the first 2 episodes of the highly anticipated Netflix series North of North, a really big deal for Nunavut's film industry.
Hi, it's Yaya.
North of North is about a young mother who got out of a relationship in a very public way and is trying to start a new life with her daughter in a small Arctic community. It's the story the creators say was perfect for a comedy.
Making North of North a comedy was the most authentic way to tell this story. We are people that love to laugh. We laugh our way through things. We poke fun at each other. We poke fun at ourselves.
It's fictional, so all the characters are fictional. Even the town is fictional, but it's definitely relatable. I think a lot of Inuit will see the show and feel like they recognize a lot of the characters, like that could be their mother, that could be their sister.
It was important for the show's creators to hire Inuit artisans and designers and locals as background actors. Its lead actor is an Inuk from Iqaluit. Anna Lam says she's excited to showcase her culture across the globe.
What I hope people worldwide get out of this show, I think sometimes people only understand Inuit as like a historical people. We don't exist anymore. It's like, well, no, we've always been here and we've always been so connected to the rest of the world.
So what did some people who got to see it first think of the first 2 shows?
Yeah, it's a landmark in history in terms of cinematography, and it's quite the honor to live here and be here.
The first 2 episodes will premiere on CBC and APTN starting January 7th, followed by weekly episodes. The global launch for North of North will be in the spring. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The holiday season is shining bright for over a dozen community centers as they receive renovation grants from the City of Winnipeg. That story and more when we return after the break. Stay with us. Community centres in Winnipeg are getting some much needed financial help from the city.
Sticks in case I break one.
That's Mayor Scott Gillingham playing a game of shinny with kids on the outdoor rink at the Sir John Franklin site of the Corden Community Centre. It's among 13 facilities receiving funds of more than $1.1 million for community centre upgrades. Gillingham says community centres are the heart of any neighbourhood.
When you played baseball with that team or hockey with that team, you form bonds, you create stories, and it's key to not only Winnipeg's past, but now with these investments, these renovation funds, they ensure that we can create stories across Winnipeg in our community centres for years to come.
The money will pay for repairs, safety improvements, and upgrades like energy-efficient windows and doors. Riley's back in, and Riley, I feel like we kind of got spoiled on the weekend with some warmer temperatures, and it was the trade-off of getting that heavy, wet, slushy snow out on the roads, so you can't appease and please everybody. But if you liked those really cold temperatures, hey, they're coming back, aren't they?
They're coming back, which is good for some outdoor ice making, obviously, if you're looking at outdoor rinks, for example. Here's your dog walking forecast for your Wednesday. Expect a clearing sky as we get through the overnight period tonight. And what that will mean is our temperatures dropping as we get into the overnight period into the morning on Wednesday. This is Arlo and his mini-me, all ready for Christmas. Thank you, Karen, for sending this picture in. You can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. So as I mentioned, we're looking at some colder temperatures as we get into the morning hours. Minus 22 overnight, minus 23 by first thing in the morning tomorrow. Northwest winds at 10, minus 19 by the afternoon. And we're looking at minus 22 with that cloud starting to build in as we get into the evening hours tomorrow. But we'll see a much sunnier day throughout the day. So that Arctic ridge of high pressure is over us right now, and that's what's going to cool our temperatures down through Wednesday and especially into the overnight period Thursday into Friday, looking at temperatures overnight below seasonal for this time of the year. Then we start to see that breaking down a bit, and we'll get into some warmer air by the time we get into the weekend. This is going to drive our temperatures up a little bit as we get into Sunday and into Monday. So your overnight forecast looks like this. Still quite a bit of cloud cover hanging around across much of the province. But as I mentioned, that will clear as we get through the overnight period tonight. So we're looking at temperatures more like minus 26, minus 27 into parts of the west tonight, minus 25 in Melita with a clearing sky tonight. We're looking at minus 27s as well through Flin Flon, Thompson, minus 26 in Gillam. We are looking at a little bit of wind, but it doesn't take much at temperatures like these to really start to see some colder wind chill values through the overnight hours. So keep that in mind as we get through the morning hours tomorrow, starting with minus 26 in Flin Flon, minus 24s by the time we get to lunchtime tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies, a bit of high-level cloud hanging around here and there. Not much to worry about, though, throughout the day on Wednesday. Across the south, we do clear by the time we get to the morning, but again, some thin, high-level cloud hanging around throughout the day tomorrow. So mostly sunny sky. Minus 23s in the west by lunchtime, minus 21 in Winnipeg and Portage. But look at what happens as we get into the afternoon hours. You can start to see that cloud starting to shuffle in here, and then the beginning of that snow as we get into the evening hours through the west, through the overnight hours into the Red River Valley. Brittany, minus 19 tomorrow in Kenora. Your 7-day forecast is coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
A Winnipeg lawyer got to spend nearly a month roughing it in Fiji while the world watched. Genevieve Mushaluk played hard for nearly a month, beating out 13 other contestants, and then was voted out when there were just 5 left. CBC Information Radio host Marcy Marcusa spoke with her yesterday.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. So we had all of Winnipeg watching. What was it like for you getting so close to the final?
Oh, wow. I could smell the million, you know, I was so close, and I thought at least I just want a chance to plead my case. But, you know, watching it back, I see why they thought I was a big threat. I never felt like it out there. I was always, you know, insecure about my position, but it was neat. I'm still proud of my placement, even though it's 5th instead of 1st.
What was it like for you going through this? Because I mean, if you watch back your video going into it, right? I'm wondering how you feel now. Because when you went into this, you were like, well, I'm not a good liar. Maybe I'll make it to day 4. I don't know. I'll keep it to myself that I'm a lawyer. How have you changed?
Well, I still don't think I'm that good of a liar. It takes a toll on you. I mean, you can, of course, any adult, I think, can execute sort of a scene of deception, but it really is one of the things I didn't appreciate as a viewer. It is a long period of time to sustain your lie. And that can be really draining, like mentally, emotionally, as you're living around people. So it's tough to keep your poker face for 24 days like I did, but no regrets. It's such a fun experience.
What was the most challenging thing physically about being on Survivor?
I think the food deprivation, which really isn't a central theme of the show. It just sort of happens in the background. All of that is real. I get asked, did they give you food or their washrooms? No and no. So being so hungry all the time, you feel it in the challenges. You feel it in the heat. You feel it with the mental fog. You feel it with the irritability. At least I do. I get irritable when I'm hungry, right? So that was a persistent challenge.
Some of the things that happen also that, in life would never happen are, they're very real deceptions. I mean, you had friends like Sam, and you had this whole fake idol scheme that didn't play out well. And then you got, turned on and, you were out. How do you separate that? You almost have to separate what you went through in the game when you come back to your relationships?
You know what? It was super easy for me to compartmentalize the game versus the personal side of it, because I can very clearly understand that there's only $1 million check and everyone wants to bring it home to their family just as much as I do. So even as Sam was explaining to me sort of the day I went home, and apologizing profusely and saying, I had to do this to give myself the best shot in the game. My response was, of course I'm disappointed for myself, but you have to do what you have to do. And there is not a drop of bad blood here. So I think if you're going to sign up to play Survivor, you really have to be able to separate that and not hold it against people, because, what are they supposed to do? Write you the $1 million check and not go home to their family with it, right? I think all is fair in love and war and Survivor.
Obviously, Genevieve, that in the past, other players' lives have changed pretty significantly after being on Survivor, especially considering how far you went. What are you expecting on that front now?
I hope my life doesn't change. I love my regular life. I think I'm one of the few on the cast who still has their social media private. And I just, I do my 9 to 5 thing and then hang out with my parents and my husband and my friends. And I like regular life. I'm not built for anything more than that, I don't think.
What's the most surprising thing? Obviously, you were a fan of the show before you ended up becoming a contestant. So you alluded sort of to the food deprivation, which isn't central to the show, but that was a surprise. What else was surprising, going through the experience of being a contestant?
Oh, good question. There's so much that I felt unprepared for, even as a viewer. I would say the having to reconcile your feelings of vulnerability and loneliness while also not transferring that or wearing down your fellow, castmates or contestants because everyone else is feeling it. So the challenge that you would have seen on the show for me is, do you open up and let these people in, sort of emotionally build bonds, or do you keep it very clearly compartmentalized, like I was explaining, so that it makes it easier to play the game? I think that challenge was something I hadn't cracked the code for before going out there. And I think even on day 24, as I was leaving the game, I still hadn't figured out exactly how to balance that.
Why did you want to be a contestant in the first place?
I watched the show since it started airing. So even as a young woman, and I would watch and think, wow, like these, otherwise ordinary people are out there doing extraordinary things. I mean, it's an experience that money can't buy. Of course, you can go camping, but you're never going to have that type of environment with all of the challenges and the competition aspect to such a heightened degree for $1 million, right? So it was something that always was enticing to me. And then as I grew older, I never lost that feeling of, I think I could do it. And I wanted to try. So I applied for years and years and eventually got on. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it in the sense that I didn't win the million, but I could do it in the sense that I survived more than 1 minute out there.
Well, from the heat and the water and the challenge to the back to Winnipeg with our cold temperatures. So none of our climate helped you in this, by the way, obviously. Where are you going to watch the finale? What's your plan to watch the rest?
You know what? I am actually going to LA tomorrow so I can join the rest of my cast and watch the finale episode with them in LA.
Amazing. Enjoy it. Thanks for repping us. Woohoo!
Thank you so much. And thank you for chatting with me and letting me share a bit about my experience.
Still ahead, Riley's back with our last check on your forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. Canadian hero, helper, and icon Terry Fox will now be on the $5 bill. That news making its way out of the political turmoil around the fall economic statement yesterday. In honoring him and his marathon of hope, the federal government says Fox showed how an ordinary person can make a difference through willpower and determination. His family says they hope the Terry Fox Fiver is a reminder of his legacy. Former Liberal Prime Minister Sir Wilfrid Laurier will be moved from the $5 bill to the 50.
Let's have a look at your 7-day forecast now, and we are in for a little bit of precipitation across the province. Clouds do start to build in through the later part of Wednesday, -19 tomorrow, and then we start to see some snow through the late evening in the west, through the overnight period into the Red River Valley into Thursday morning. -15 by the time we get to the afternoon Thursday, -13 for Friday, a mix of sun and clouds. Much the same for Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds, -14. And then into Sunday, Monday, and Christmas Eve on Tuesday, minus single digits. We start to see a little bit of cloud building its way back in by the time we get to Tuesday and into the early part of next week. Gingerbread houses have been a staple of the holiday season for generations, especially if you like eating the candies.
Who doesn't? But how about a gingerbread city? A giant gingerbread village containing hundreds of the confectionery structures in New York is our daily lift.
A lot of the things that you think of when you see New York City, we actually tried to kind of bring into the exhibit a little bit more this year. More lamps, more mailboxes, more street signs.
In fact, it features 720 gingerbread houses. Gingerbread Lane is in its 30th year. It started with 157 gingerbread houses and has grown ever since. This year's village showcases a bagel store, a pumpkin spice latte shop, a subway station, even Santa Claus riding an iconic yellow taxi cab.
I think what really motivates me at this point, as you can see while you're here covering this, is the reaction that people have to it. It's very positive, and regardless of what's going on with COVID or Trump and Biden or the economy or the weather or your mortgage or whatever it is, this has a lovely escapist quality.
Gingerbread Lane stays on display through January 5th. Then it is back to work, starting the year-long process of creating next year's village with thousands of pounds of candy, egg whites, and flour.
Barely a time off.
I know. No kidding. No rest.
You don't want to eat all those. You'll get a bit tummy ache.
Exactly.
Well, we hope you all have a wonderful night. Make sure you stay warm and stay safe out there on those roads.
See ya.